Three, two, one, action.
Hello. Guess what, folks? Today was the first day, a year ago today, we did our very first virtual Zoom class. I can't remember who was on that class. I think I remember a couple of people that were on. But today, a year ago today, was our very first class, and I did it from my house actually because I didn't have the appropriate equipment yet, and I didn't know what I was doing, how to hook up the organs. And so I had to do everything through PowerPoint and the computer and pre-recorded stuff. And it was really just a test to see how many people would get on. And it was amazing. And here we are a year ago today. So happy virtual anniversary or anniversary virtual something, whatever. And we'll talk about some of the things coming up next week. But I'm going to open up with a song that I normally don't play. It's called Love Me Tender. And the style that I'm going to use is guitar standard. And I did put it at 147. And I don't know what presets I'm going to use. I'm just going to put on my preset information, setup information. And then I'm going to pick what I see in real time. So there's no plan. I'm just going to play it like a student would. They'd have their music usually. And then as they're playing, I'm just going to use some of the presets. So here we go. There you go. Just a nice, pretty song to open up with. I was reaching over because I heard some background noise, so I wanted to very quickly mute everybody. We see a hand raised already. Is that you, Pat? Pat, you have a question? Oh, you were just clapping. Oh, that was a hand clap up in the air. High five. All right, I'll take it. Okay, so hopefully during that, while I was playing, I only have one thing on here in the chat. You were supposed to put something in there, a question or something you'd like to learn. So if you like a class next month, put something in the chat at some point and just put, I would like to learn more about this or tell me more about that. Now for today, I have some comments that people put in the chat last month, and I'm going to address these. And then I have something that I wanted to do last month that I just didn't, I ran out of time. And so I'm going to get to that. So Today, everything I'm gonna discuss is gonna be on the EY series. If you happen to have an A series model, I'll try to address that as well. But particularly, specifically Inspire, Rialto, Marquis, Grand Marquis, Aria, and as always, I'll try to address the other models for those of you who don't have one of the ones I just mentioned. But I had a question last month that said, please go over Quick Picks. Cannot get it. Well, Quick Picks is one of those features that is a lot simpler than most people think. Okay? Now, every model has it in a different place. I believe the A series has it towards the right. On the Inspire and the Rialto, it's right here. And I believe the Marquis, Grand Marquis, and Aria have it in the same place. So I'm going to look at an Aria owner, and you tell me with a head nod, or Grand Marquis, is this where the Quick Picks is on your instrument? I know the answer. I'm just trying to see if you do. Yeah, okay. So it is in the same place. And I'm going to give the short answer on Quick Picks. But I'm going to refer to, some of you may have bought, an organ or two over the years. I think some of you bought maybe one, maybe even 3 organs, upgraded 3 times, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, I got 8, 9. Well, after 10 over there. Oh, I heard 12. I heard 12. I feel like I'm in an auction. Well, if you buy 12 in a year, we cut you off and put you in Organs Anonymous Association. And that particular organization, we teach you how not to buy 12 organs in a year. And I lead that organization. So I'll steer you in the right direction. Right? Okay. So, but if you remember on some of the A series models, if you've had those models, and when I say A series, I'm talking Prestige, SU, Royale, those models, if you remember, those instruments had on the panel, and I'm looking at a performer over here, piano, guitar, jazz guitar, vibes, electric piano, guitar, country guitar, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there was probably, in that instrument behind me here, there's probably, I don't know, 170, 200 different musical instruments and then some. And they put them all in the Genius buttons. And nowadays, they put them in a sound button, okay? But there was always instruments that people would commonly use: pianos, guitars, saxophones, trumpets and trombones, and et cetera, et cetera. So for years, we kind of referred to those buttons as Quick Picks, because then you can just very quickly access some of the sounds. Well, as technology progressed and they put more sounds on the instruments, what they did is they redid the panel so that basically all you had to do is have one button to access all of the sounds. And that's exactly what they did on the Inspires, Rialtos, Marquis, etc. However, Lowry knew that people were going to say, well, it'd be nice to have something very quickly to access. And that's really the intent of the Quick Pick, is to very quickly have access to some of the common sounds. So on here, I'm just going to touch Quick Picks. And I don't know if you could see from that screen there, but on the list here, it says piano, accordion, vibes, jazz guitar, country guitar, Hawaiian guitar, etc. And at the bottom, it says next page. Now, I believe on the Arias and the Marquis, there might be some extra pages, but it says next. And when I touch next, another page of some Quick Pick instruments show up. Clarinet, and it says Pete. That's the sound of the Pete fountain type clarinet. Jazz, flute, harmonica. Again, commonly used sounds. All right. And then there's another next. Let's see what happens. And there's another page of sounds: electric piano, Spanish guitar, gypsy, violin, overblown flute. That's a pretty cool flute. It's like it has extra breath in it. I'll come back to these. And then if I do it one more time, in this case, there's only 3 pages. All right. Now, before I go further, there is a button here that says My Picks. Now, My Picks is pretty cool because You may like those sounds, but I'm sure everybody has one that they go into the organ and they hit the sounds button and they'll scroll through and find one that they like. I use a lot, I use the brass section as an example. And I use it because when I'm doing some big band stuff or some of my really fast Dixieland stuff, I like to have a brass section with some strings as a kind of a backup sound for a nice big sound. Um, there are a lot of instruments. I like the plunger trumpet. It may say trumpet plungers or something like that. I love that sound. Everybody has their own sounds that they like to go and search for. So what you can do is go to the My Picks, and in this case, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here for you. Let me see if you can. Oops. Pushed the wrong button there. All right, can you see that?
Yes.
All right, so what I'm looking at the screen now, you'll see that in this case there's 8 buttons. So what's cool is now some of the models I've seen actually has something there. No matter. Point is you just touch it and you scroll, and you could scroll through and put any sound that you want in there. So I mentioned brass. So I'll go up to the brass, and it says brass section 1. And then you just touch another one, and I'm going to go to, which way am I going? I want to go up to T for trumpet. And it might take me a little while, but you get the point, is when you get to a sound that you want in there, what you can do, oh, the growl saxophone, I like that one too. And then sometimes I get sidetracked. I go, ooh, what's that? And that'll happen. You'll go through it and you'll go, I want that one sound, and you'll find some along the way and you go, ooh, I like that one instead. Trumpet, Louis Shakes, trumpet, plunger, okay, etc. All right. So now you can do that 8 times and it should remain there even when you turn off the instrument. Now, these are man-made products, so it's not always perfect. Okay. Now let me back out so we can see me doing this again. Now that you have your Quick Picks and your My Picks set, what you can do is when you go to the Quick Picks button, you can either go from the ones that are preset there, or you can go to My Picks. Now, it works as simply as this. Now, what I really love, what they've done with the series of instruments, is that when you put an instrument in one of these sections, it doesn't mess with the combinations. So in other words, on some of the models, you'll notice that there's 2 buttons pressed at the same time. And one is blinking, one is not. So if you have to go and assign a sound in there, you've messed up that combination. Here, you're putting it to whatever section you want. So as an example, if I want that trumpet plunger to go in orchestra 1, I just press sound 1, touch plunger trumpet, and then press sound 1, and then automatically that sound is in here. Now I'm going to turn off everything else so there's nothing else on the upper. So all I should have at this point is there's the trumpet plunger, all right? And the process works the same on anything. So if you're going to your Quick Picks and you just want that piano, you can just put it on that sound over there. But remember, when you have a sound in one of these, you just have to remember to tell upper or lower. You have to tell it where to go. So it's a very quick way to put a sound in the instrument. One other cool thing that I saw Joni do years ago is, a lot of times we have like a band like, commonly used is this Frank and the Count here. Now, if you listen to I don't know if I can do it on this model. Can I do it on this one, Joni? Do you know? Where I can put the quick pick into the orchestral?
Yes.
Oh, phew, good. So here's the big band. Listen to the intro. All right, so there's a lot going on. And as you know on the touch screens, if you touch above, you can see there's strings, there's brass, there's saxes, there's pianos, there's all this stuff that make up that band. So if I were to go to my quick picks and touch piano and I were to push orchestral plus, I know it does it on the larger ones, and do it again, piano, basic. Let's see what happens. What I did is I very quickly put a piano in both of those, so everything you just heard is now a piano player. You can do that with any of your rhythms. So I know you all have a pianist and a guitarist group of styles, but you can turn any style into a guitarist or piano. So for example, let's pick another one. Anybody have a rhythm off the top of their head they can ramble off to me? You got to be quick before I decide. Okay. I'm going to put on opener. Here's our style setup. This is what it normally sounds like. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. Let me see what's in here. It says pianos, of course, pizzicato strings, piccolos, brasses, timpanis, xylophones, all the stuff that make up a Broadway style. Okay. Now, in one of my classes, a couple times, we've gone in and edited these in detail. But if you just want a quick little edit, check this out. I'm going to go to my quick picks. I see jazz guitar. You know what? I'm just going to touch jazz guitar, no thinking, and basic. Jazz guitar and orchestra plus. Now that same style is going to sound like this. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but it'll be different. That's a good guitar player. So now all of those parts that are in the band are done just by the guitar player. Now I think if you turn it off and turn it back on, let's see what happens. It stays. Now if you turn off the style setup and turn it back on, then it goes back. So that's a quick question about quick picks that I got last month. Are there any questions about what I've done so far? Because I think the next question has nothing to do with that. None whatsoever? Boy, I'm looking at you. You're all looking musically, productly smarter now. I'm doing a good job here. Okay. Let's see. A question. How can I buy another upgrade right? No, sorry, wrong question. I like that question, though. That's a good question. Let's see. Let's see if I can understand this question. Okay, well, this is a good one. How to magnify sound effects so they are really heard above the music. That's a tricky one because sound effects, some are very loud to begin with, and some are soft. And I believe, let me just look before I say it. Okay, it is. All right, so when you power up the instrument, or even if you don't power up the instrument, and when you put on the feature button, let me zoom in for you to so you could see this again. So if you can see that okay, and you touch feature, page 1, there's a button here called Levels Balance. And if you touch Levels Balance, stuff pops up, okay? And what it is, it's another way to balance a lot of things and volume controls on the instrument that you normally wouldn't have, like your orchestral 1 here and the orchestral 2 and the solo. Now right here it says flute, strings. Now if you notice, there's a string volume here, but these are string and vocals. This is the lower actually. So there is a lower sounds tab, and then it says string vocal sounds, okay? You'll see it says sounds in the lower. That would be the lower sound. The flute, that would be the organ flutes. And then there's one that says SFX, which stands for sound effects. Now in this case, it's at 100%. So on this page right here, just by that, me having the access to that, you can go and control each, access each section. So if I touch lower and scroll, it says others, orchestral and solo, upper, and then so forth. Now let me go back to orchestral and solo. So if I change the volume of orchestral 1, it's also changing it here on the side here. I don't know if you can see it changing there, but this is done in a very more accurate, precise step. So like I'm going to hit 76. Can you see that number there, 76 in the window? Okay. So I'm going to scroll up. I touched it, and I'm going to scroll up. Now over here, it's also adjusting this volume, but you're not going to see this light change a lot. See it? Now I'm going to go down one at a time. And you'll notice it takes several steps before it goes down. This is a little bit more very precise. Here, when you do this, it does it at like 8 at a time, 35, 42, 50, 60, 71. Okay? So if you ever have a sound on, let's say you have 2 sounds on together, it could be, let's put on a bells and a piano, okay? I won't play the background. Let's just put those 2 sounds on. Let's turn everything else off. Okay? Now, let me go back to that screen. Now, right now, on the section, it says orchestral and solo. So basically, I have this panel. So you can change the volume here, or you can change the volumes here. Now, the thing is if I want that bells to be louder and the piano to be softer, the piano's here, when I turn down the piano, it goes down and from 100 to 89 and to 80. You know, those are very significant jumps there. But maybe I don't want to do it that drastic. This is where this particular screen comes in handy. So right now, the piano and the bells. Yeah, okay, so to me that piano is softer, but the bells is really strong. And then if I start trying to adjust the bells, you may never get the accurate setting that you want. So what I'm going to do is touch the screen here and scroll like this, and then get it to where your ears say, hey, that's what I like. So most of these volumes can be adjusted on the panels and what have you, but to get more precise adjustments, you would go to Feature, Page 1, Levels Balance. So if you ever have a setup and something is too loud or too soft, it could be the melody sound, could be a sound effect, could be the lower chords, what have you. You can adjust those. And here's another example. Let me put on the style that I opened up with. I used Guitar Standard. This is what we got. Let me pull up the rhythm here. Okay. Now let's just say I want to bring in the drummer. So I'm going to turn up the drummer. Now the drummer, again, as soon as I touch that volume, you'll notice the screen shows up. You see? And it's jumping from 70 to 70. A lot of times when I'm playing, I'll think, wait, that drummer's too loud. And then I hit it down one and it's like it's too soft. There's no in-betweens. So what I do is I'll pull up the screen and then do this. And I'll select drums in this case. And I can get it at exactly where I want it. All right? Now, let's talk about the left-hand chord. There is no chord. Let me turn it on. Now, let's see. Let's put on some strings and an 8-foot flute. Let's see what happens. Now, for me, I don't know if you can tell from where you're at. To me, I still could barely hear that chord sound. What most people would do, what's their knee-jerk reaction? Go to the lower and hit the volume over to the left. Let me pull it back out a little bit. So over here, there is a lower volume. The minute I touch that lower volume, it takes anything that's in that lower and increases it. So if I do that, now it's too loud. You ever feel like you just can't find the right? Well, it's not all the time, but when it does happen, just go to your feature, levels, balance. Whoops. Trying to get it so you can see. Okay. And then in the screen, I would touch others or whatever's there and scroll to what it is that you're trying to adjust. The uppers, the lowers. Okay, lower. And it says the sounds. That's going to be the volume for just that lower sounds tab. The string vocal is going to be the volume just for the two tabs right here that say strings and vocals. And then there's one that says flute. Now that's not the flute like a pan flute. That's the organ flutes. So right now I have strings and an 8-foot flute. Maybe I want that 8-foot flute at 70. Maybe I want the strings and the vocals up at 62. And let me hear it. Maybe I don't. That's pretty loud for me. So you see, as I'm playing it, I adjusted it and I stopped where I like it. Now I can play. Okay. Is any of this making sense? Any questions? The only bad question is the one that doesn't get asked. Okay, it said in this bottom, what does that say? Will the changes you made, what does that say there? Will the changes you made?
All of those changes that you're making right now, will they go away when you turn it off?
They will.
Oh.
They go away forever. Or you could have them for eternity.
How's that?
You save it onto a preset. Okay, we've had a few classes over time. I would encourage everyone to learn how to, if you don't know how to save a preset, that's definitely something worth looking up. Contact the PA, because this kind of stuff, a lot of times I'll do it and it's kind of like no big deal. And then every now and then I do it so much that I don't remember. If I hit another preset even and I go back to that preset, well, guess what? I lost everything that I just did. So the answer is yes and no, and it will go away if you don't save it. However, if you do save it onto a preset, well, then you're all set. Okay, and then a lot of you have organs with presets. You could even like the fanfares and the journeys, they have presets you can save on those. their internal storage. And the rest of you who have a USB, save them on a USB. If you have a floppy disk organ, I believe, Liz, you have a Royale, it says. That has a floppy disk. So you could save it on the organ. Then if you really, really want to keep it forever, save it onto a floppy. And if you really, really, really want to be safe, then put it back up on a computer. I have like 5 backups of this USB. It's happened. I showed up in Florida one time and I left my USB. All I had to do is get to a computer and I was able to get my presets. So anyway, good question. Any other questions about this before I move on? So, as a recap on this, you have volumes that you can change, but they're not in very small incremental steps. They're, as you know. If you want something a little bit more precise or something you really want to tweak, you know, like all of these will do what I said. In it looks like it jumps from 11 to 5 or so. I don't know what the science is behind it. Just go to features. That very first one is levels balances. And then you would touch what it is that you're looking for. So if it's these here, this is going to be considered upper. Okay? And it says flute, string vocal, harmony. Oh, that's cool. I'll come back to that. And your sounds. So this is the sounds. String vocal is the string in the vocal tab. Flutes is the organ flutes. And again, you have a separate, call it a quick access to those. Strings and ensembles, you can very quickly, your organ flutes. But I noticed here this harmony showed up. And if it's what I think it is, you can take a harmony. Let me put on a harmony, like a simple 4-part harmony, okay? And let me put on some strings. I like strings with, and I'm going to turn down the acoustic guitar. Let me turn it off altogether. I want it just string. Let me put on this guitar back. Now here's a great example. If you're ever wondering, how do we come up with setups? When I played that, I found myself putting a 4-part harmony. I'm going to stop and tell you what I did, because a lot of times I just do it. So what I did is I put on the acoustic guitar. What sound is in here? An acoustic guitar. I put on some strings, 8-foot strings, and I put on a 4-part harmony. And what it's doing, if you notice my hand moving around, what it's doing is, to me, it's a little too muddy for my taste. And it's also putting a harmony on the guitar. So, you know, that's just a little bit too much for me. Here's the guitar. That's just too low and muddy. So my thinking is, I want that guitar sound. I'm going to put that same guitar sound, which is 115. So I'm going to type in 115. And I'm going to put it as a solo sound instead. Okay? So now I have just a guitar up here. All right? I'm going to put on the strings. And I have the 4-part harmony, and this is what I get. That's okay. Sounds all right, right? The guitar's no longer muddy, but that strings is pretty strong, and it's got a lot of harmony going on there. Now, I have a theory here, because I've never really fooled with this, folks. Usually what I do is this. The strings is too much, so I'm going to turn down the strings. But then the strings kind of goes away by doing that. So let me bring it back up. Now I'm going to experiment with, I'm going to go to features, levels, balance, and the strings and harmony here. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take harmony, and I'm just going to hold the note down and hear it. So I don't know if you can tell from there, but here's what's happening by me doing what I just did. I have the guitar that I put in the solo, so it's not going to do a harmony. I have the strings, and what I did is I put 8-foot strings, and I put 4-part harmony. The minute I put 4-part harmony, it was big. And the guitar sound got lost, if you will. So I have two things I could do. Turn down the strings or turn down the harmony. So here's what'll happen. I turn down the strings and I touched it 71. I'm going to just touch it down to 60. Let's see what happens. And you can kind of hear that string in there, just ever so slightly, but it's there. And then what I did is I touched harmony. It was at 80. Does anybody know when I turn it down to 61 what exactly is happening? Does anybody know what's turning down? I have a feeling Joni knows the answer to this. Anybody know? Anybody want to guess? Here's what's happening. So if I'm doing a 4-part harmony and I'm playing one note, it's obviously playing 3 additional notes. Those 3 additional notes are the harmony. Okay? So if I turn down the harmony, the volume, those 3 notes are coming down. So essentially, if I'm understanding this correctly, you could have a string playing one note, and then the other 3 notes that are being played, you could have the one string note higher and the harmony softer. So there's a harmony there, but not so overbearing, if that makes sense. It's all happened to us. A lot of us, we always encourage, use harmonies, use harmonies, use harmonies. But the minute you put on the harmony button, all of a sudden you get big because it's doing everything. If you put on a 5-part harmony, you get 5 notes. Well, if they're all playing at the exact same volume and you have a solo sound in there, that solo instrument might get lost in the shuffle. So what a lot of people do is they try to turn down the sound that's the harmony. And then you lose that, and it's like there's no in between. Well, in this case, I just discovered something really cool that I'm going to use now. So I'm going to do it a little bit differently now. I'm going to turn the strings up to 80, and let's see what happens. So the strings is up, the guitar is up, but I'm going to turn the harmony down to 50. Okay? In fact, let me turn the guitar off and see if you could hear the harmony. It's not as apparent now, is it? There are 3 other notes played in there. Listen. I'm going to turn it up. Now if I turn it down to 50, so what happens is the 3 notes that are being harmony, you could barely hear them now, but they're there so softly. So it's a way of having harmony without overbearing, making it overbearing. Now, is there a right combination? No. The right combination is what you do when you just mess around with it and your ears go, hey, that works, great, let me just do it again. So I have it down to 50. I want some harmony back. I'm going to put it up to 60. So there's some harmony. The string sound is at 80, so I can hear that. Let me turn that down to 72. I don't know. What I'm doing, guys, is what I always tell people. Just poke around until you get it to where you like it. I'm going to bring back the acoustic guitar, and then I get... Now, Liz, what happens if I push another button or turn the organ off? What
You
happened?
didn't save it, so it's gone.
I'll lose it. So if I want to save it, just save it. And this function is the same on virtually every model that has presets. I'm going to hit memorize A with a style in this case, and I'm going to just put it on number 1, and then I confirm it with memorize. That's the cool thing about experimenting, is that you can push the buttons all you want. Okay? A button is there to be pressed. You can't mess it up. You may get a sound that you don't like, but when you get a sound that you do like, you don't want to lose it. And if you don't save it, I'll tell you, it's rare that someone gets it back exactly. If I turn the screen off and turn it off and try to set that up, I won't get anywhere close to exact. I might get pretty close, but I won't get it exactly the way I want it. Any questions? I'm glad I discovered that. I don't think I've ever talked about that in the class. This is a first. Not only is it our 1-year anniversary, but next year I will say it was my 1-year anniversary that I actually taught a new feature in all my career on an organ. Now I just got to remember that. I don't think I have a preset for my brain. Memorize A with a number, memorize. So, any questions? No questions whatsoever? Okay. I still have some more stuff here. I'm not going to do it today. I'll save it for the next class. But I do want to say one thing that I started talking about last month, that if you have the Inspire Rialto Marquis, Grand Marquis Aura, I would experiment with this. I mean, we talked a lot about sounds and tabs and things and all that, but this is a very uncommonly used thing for some. We have these great organ sounds here, and for many years, these sounds were only available on the upper keyboard. So for years and years and years and years, every organ, I think, that I've ever known, those tabs, you could only access and use them on the top keyboard. So what happened was, if there's sometimes I like to play where I have like a nice little jazz organ combination of some sort, and I like to switch to piano, and I've always been forced to put the organ up here, and then if I want a piano or guitar or something, put it down here. All right? Well, we now have the option to take these tabs, okay, and you can put them either on the upper or your lower right. Now I'm looking for it here. I don't know if I can do it on here. Let me just see. Is that on the Inspire, or is that just the Marquis or Aria? Or do you know, Joni?
I believe it's on the Marquis and Aria.
I thought it was. Oh, no. It is here too. I almost made myself look like a fool. I knew it was here. And you know where it's at, folks? You ever have a button on the organ that you know it's there and you can't find it, and then you find it and you go, oh, it's right in front of me? Yeah, it's right here. There's a button here that says upper tabs to lower right. Okay? And so a lot of times I may want to use an organ sound, but not as a primary sound. And so what I'll do is, like I said, I'll put on, let's put on a guitar swing. Let's see here. I'm going to turn up the drums. Okay, and let's see. I'll have a sound like, okay? And I want a nice organ sound. Well, in the past, I'd have to either make 2 presets, or I'd have to just put the organ on the top and the guitar down here. And I like this guitar. Okay? And I want a nice little jazz organ, and a quick jazz organ sound. Well, you can push the button that says jazz. A 16/8 and a 5 1/3 is a great organ sound. Let me turn off the guitars you hear. It's just a really cool, nice little organ sound. But I don't want that because that's not going to be my primary sound. Now what I'll do is make sure there's nothing else on the lower right, and I'm just going to hit upper tabs to lower right. Okay, so now it's down there. So what's up here? All right, the same thing, but here's the trick. I turn off upper tabs. How does that sound? Doesn't that sound great? No, it's not there. I turned it off. Okay? So you have two ways. You could either turn on the upper tabs for here, or you could put upper tabs to the lower right, or you could do both. In this case, I turned off the upper tabs and I put upper tabs to lower right. All right. Now I'm going to come back over and bring my guitar sound. I'll stop right there. I'll do a closing number using that setup. And I think my quick picks is still there. So I might choose a trumpet plunger here and I'll close off with a number using that setup. All right. Okay. Before I do some quick announcements and play a closing number, any questions about anything that I taught today?
So it's the newer organs that have that possibility of moving.
Yes,
The-
that last feature that I
Yes.
just mentioned, the upper tabs to the lower right, exists on the following models. And I'm going to ask Joni to correct me if I'm wrong, but I know it's the Inspire because I have it in front of me. Rialto, Marquis, Grand Marquis, and Aria. Does that sound correct, Joni? And we just verified that the Inspire has it. So everything else I taught today should be applicable to most models with touch screens and a lot of models with presets. Okay. Good question. Any other questions? Wow. I'm looking. You guys look so much more knowledgeable about products now. You're starting to look like you can teach this class next month. Right, Wayne? Okay. I'm going to do a closing number in a minute, but just a couple quick announcements. And as you know, I said a year ago today was my very first virtual music class experience. I did it from my house, and it grew from a computer to, I can't tell you how many wires I got going on in here. And Joni loves wires and connections, and right, Joni? But
Yeah, my favorite.
and anyway, but we've grown and we're going to continue. And as we work through our pandemic here, eventually we're going to start opening some classes in the stores and what have you. But we got to get to we're going to keep doing this. Now, even if we did open up the classes, some people can't travel from Kentucky or what have you. So rest assured, it's going to be just an addition to what we do moving forward. Anyway, so with that said, we are going to do a nice little celebration next week. And if you haven't seen it already, you probably did. But starting next Monday, we're going to, every day, all of our typical online classes are going to be, they're going to be put on pause for 1 week. And in place of that, we are going to have a very fancy virtual anniversary spectacular and featuring your amazing Fletcher team. And those are all of the performers. And if you can see that screen there, 5 days starting Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Arizona. I think that's, don't quote me on this, but I think that's 2 o'clock Idaho. And it might be 10 o'clock England. I don't know. But you'll have to look at your world clock on your phone or what have you. We have Joni Monero and Joe Fontesha in concert Monday. and then Carrie Price and Andrew Leach on Tuesday. I'm going to come back to this in a moment. Sean Maloney and Bart Jensen in concert, and they've got something really cool. You're not going to want to miss it because they're going to let you in on how you can get their setups that they're doing for those concerts, regardless of the model that you own. Ooh, tell me more. How would you like to know more? Show up to the event and find out. On Wednesday, this is really cool. Dawn Casanova is going to do what she's calling an ultimate variety feature class for all. That means she is going to cover some of the most important features on the models, and with the help of a couple of personal assistants, she's going to cover features and talk about them that relate to a wide range of models. So if someone has, say, an EZ2 and she talks about a particular feature, she's going to talk about that feature that pertains to an EZ2 for those that have the Easy series, the intermediate size models, the Inspires, the Rialtos, everything. And that's why she's calling it the ultimate variety class for all. And so, and you're not going to want to miss that. On Friday, it's going to be a Robert Roman and Jerome in concert. However, Jerome Johnson and I are going to do something we've never done on Zoom before. And all I can tell you is you're going to want to invite as many friends to that event because they're going to discover how fun and easy it is to make music. We're going to do a first time ever type of event. I'm not going to tell you any more because if I give away all of the secrets, then you won't be surprised. But we are going to do, it's going to be a first time debut type event that we've never done before. In fact, it's so new and different, Jerome Johnson doesn't even know about it yet. He was on vacation when I planned all of this. Jerome, are you there somewhere? He's back in the office going, what are you doing to me? Yes, I'll tell you about it in a little bit.
All right, thanks a lot.
He just got back from a road trip to Mississippi to see his folks last week. And so, yes, it's going to be really cool. Now, if you think you might not be able to make it because you can go watch the recording, these events will be recorded, but they will not be posted for quite some time. We want as much participation and involvement. We want to celebrate still being in business after 1 year because we had no idea where we were going to be. And you are the reason why we're here. And we want to do a heck of a celebration all week long for you. It's just one event each day, and that's happening. Last but not least, on that note, if you go to the website to get the links, it is at the special events, and you'll see here that they're all listed here, and they're also listed here, these little dots. Now what's cool is I set these particular ones up to very simply, very simply, if you click on the dot, it just says click here to join the event. Okay, and it has the time of the event. And just to make sure that you don't miss out, each day, 6 hours prior to the event, there's going to be an email reminder with the Zoom link and the link to the website for each event every day. Okay? So if you forget about it, you can't blame me on this one. It's on the website. It's going to be in the email. It'll have the link. And this recording will go up. This class will get posted. But again, those 5 events are not going to be posted. The recordings will be done, but they won't be posted for quite some time. I'm saving it, and then some of them are going to be exclusive for Patreon members. So if you're a Patreon member, you'll have access to a couple of those. Okay? So with that said, I noticed there was a lot of chatting going on. I'm going to pull it down, and I hope that I get some of these comments. If you have questions, while I'm playing, if you think of something else that you'd like to learn in the future, now's the time to do it, because when I'm done with this and stop the recording, the chat will download, and then I can just pick up where I left off on some of the other questions and some of the new ones. Okay? So I'm going to switch camera views, and I'm going to use the setup that I just did, which was guitar swing is the style. And what did I have? Jazz guitar. I have the organ. All right, let me just speed it up a little bit for this. And then my quick picks, I'm going to push trumpet plunger, and I'll put it over here on solo 1. So when it's time, I'll just switch over to that. So here we go, and I hope you enjoy this setup. Let's see what happens. Well, thank you, everybody. We hope you enjoyed today's class. Hope it was a good class. It was a good class because you guys gave me something to talk about. You gave me some good questions in there. And I learned something new today, so I'm going to have to store that in my memory banks. But anyway, thank you so much. We hope to see you next week at our virtual anniversary spectacular. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your personal assistants. Email me, send smoke signals, whatever you like to do. You can call me at the store here. You can get a hold of me multiple ways. So keep playing music, stay safe, and mwah.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
You take care. We'll talk to you soon, or see you next week.
Good one.